Today's deep dive is all about that unseen problem that could be brewing under the surface. It affects what the estimates I've seen are up to 1 in 4 adults globally. It's a modern epidemic, really. We're talking about metabolic-associated fatty liver disease, or MAFLD.
Right. And our mission today, based on the source material we've pulled together, is designed to translate that complex medical journey, how the liver goes from perfectly healthy to severely diseased, into a clear, comprehensive lifestyle blueprint.
A reversal toolkit.
A reversal toolkit, exactly, rooted entirely in behavioral and nutritional changes. We're going to focus really heavily on how your lifestyle choices are the primary levers for recovery. And we're going to zero in on 2 surprising culprits.
Okay.
First, the critical role of insulin signaling, and second, the shocking, almost alcohol-like toxicity of a specific sugar component, fructose.
And we have to start with that initial shock factor that really drives this whole thing.
Yeah.
This concept that your chronic, subtle nutritional habits can, over time, just hijack your amazing liver and turn it into what the sources call a fat storage factory.
Precisely. And we have to introduce another concept right at the top, the idea of sober drunkenness.
Sober drunkenness, that sounds like a contradiction.
It does, but it's a key pivotal finding in our source material. It suggests that a very common, ubiquitous component in modern diets acts on the liver in a way that is structurally, chemically, and pathologically almost identical to chronic alcohol consumption.
Even if you never touch a drop of alcohol.
Even if you never touch a drop. And that analogy alone really helps explain why MAFLD has become so prevalent across the globe.
That is a staggering claim.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one we absolutely need to back up with the science.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's unpack this blueprint step by step. If we're aiming for reversal, we have to start at the very beginning, the root of the problem. So let's begin with the fundamental driver, the first domino that knocks everything else over, insulin resistance. Now, this isn't just about having high blood sugar, right? It's about a chronic state created by, well, years of consistently high intake of sugars and refined carbs.
That's it, you're bombarding your system.
So what happens chemically when we do that?
It's essentially metabolic exhaustion. The chronic overconsumption forces your pancreas to constantly, and I mean constantly, pump out high levels of insulin.
And insulin's job is to get sugar into the cells for energy.
Right, its primary job is to help move glucose into your cells. But when those cells, your muscle cells, your fat cells, are just flooded with glucose all the time, they gradually become less sensitive to insulin's signal. They start to resist it.
They stop listening.
They stop listening. That's insulin resistance in a nutshell.
Okay, so if the cells are resistant, that means the insulin in your blood stays high, right? It's shouting, trying to force the door open, but the cells aren't responding well anymore. What does that state of chronic high insulin mean for the liver specifically?
This is the crucial part that's often misunderstood. Insulin isn't just a blood sugar regulator. It is the most powerful anabolic or storage signaling hormone in the entire body.
The storage hormone.
Yes. And when insulin levels are persistently chronically elevated, it sends this urgent, continuous signal directly to your liver. And that signal is basically one single command. We are drowning in energy. Stop burning and start storing.
Okay, so if I'm understanding the implication here for our daily habits, does this mean that grazing all day on small, carb-rich snacks, even healthy ones, is maybe metabolically worse than eating one very large carb meal?
From an insulin management perspective, yes.
Because you're keeping that insulin signal high for 12, 14 hours straight.
That is precisely the implication from the sources. It's the persistence of the hormonal signal that's the problem. Every time you eat a significant amount of carbohydrate, you trigger an insulin release. If you eat 3 meals and 4 snacks between, say, 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., your body is effectively in a continuous high insulin fat storage state for the entire day.
The liver never gets a break.
It never gets the signal to switch over into fat burning mode. That high insulin state is the environmental trigger that tells the liver, convert this energy into stored fat immediately.
That structural understanding of the hormonal environment is, wow, that's key. So now we move from the signal to the actual process of making fat. And here's where we get into this fascinating mechanism the sources focus on, de novo lipogenesis, or DNL.
Yeah.
It sounds super technical.
It does.
Could you simplify DNL for us, but with enough depth that we really get it?
Of course. DNL literally translates to the creation of new fat.
Okay.
When the liver gets that constant command from high insulin, it activates this specific metabolic pathway. The liver takes all that excess glucose and the unused carbohydrates, the energy that couldn't get into the resistant muscle cells, and it structurally dismantles those sugar molecules.
It takes them apart.
It takes them apart, and then it chemically rebuilds them piece by piece into triglycerides.
Which are fat molecules.
So
wait, to be clear, the liver is not just storing fat that someone ate in their diet. It is actively manufacturing new fat from the excess sugar they ate.
Exactly. This is where the depth really matters. This pathway is incredibly effective at converting sugar into fat. The data shows that your liver, when it's chronically stimulated by insulin and overloaded with glucose, starts generating these triglycerides faster than it can package them up and export them to other parts of the body.
So it's the bottleneck.
It's a bottleneck. And that is the very definition of the liver turning into that fat storage factory.
Yeah.
It is actively manufacturing and storing fat from excess carbs, regardless of whether your dietary fat intake is high or low. The triglycerides just pile up right there inside the liver cells.
Wow. Okay, if we connect this all back to the listener, why is understanding insulin and DNL so critical for actually reversing this?
Because it's consistently identified in all the sources as the #1 driver behind fatty liver disease. If you want to reverse this condition, your first, most powerful move is to control that chronic, persistent insulin signal. If you keep insulin high, the DNL fat-making pathway stays switched on, and no amount of other effort, no exercise, no supplements is going to fully succeed.
You have to turn off the switch.
You have to turn off the switch. That is the root of the solution.
That makes perfect sense. Insulin is the switch.
Yeah.
But you mentioned a second player, one that works with insulin to cause damage, this idea of sober drunkenness. And that leads us straight to the silent villain in modern nutrition, fructose. For most people, I think the connection between fatty liver and alcohol is really strong. That's what they think of. But the sources we looked at highlight that fructose acts in a strikingly similar way to alcohol in the liver. This feels like a massive piece of the puzzle. Why is fructose so important, and why does it get this sober drunkenness label?
It really all comes down to a profound metabolic difference between different kinds of sugar. Glucose, which is our primary fuel sugar, can be used by nearly every cell in the body. Your brain, your muscles, red blood cells. It's a very flexible fuel.
Okay.
Fructose, however, is chemically different. It's a major component of table sugar, sucrose, and it's the dominant sugar in high fructose corn syrup, which is, well, it's everywhere.
It's in everything. Processed foods, sweet drinks, sauces.
Exactly. And the key distinction is this.
What is it?
Fructose is processed almost exclusively in one organ, the liver. Unlike glucose, it basically gets a VIP pass. It bypasses the normal regulatory checkpoints in metabolism and gets rushed directly into the liver cells.
So it places this really heavy, concentrated burden on just that one organ.
A huge burden. And that unique, exclusive processing pathway is exactly what mirrors the metabolism of ethanol, which is alcohol.
So the analogy isn't just some catchy phrase, it's actually based on the body's chemistry. Let's break down this dual toxicity comparison then. If someone is drinking, say, a couple of cans of high fructose soda every day, how is that mimicking the chemical stress of drinking hard liquor?
They trigger remarkably similar toxic effects inside the liver cells, the hepatocytes. The sources detail 3 major points where they converge and lead to active liver injury.
Wait, what's the first one?
First, both fructose and ethanol cause an acute, rapid overload of the cell's energy generators, the mitochondria.
The powerhouses.
The powerhouses. When the liver tries to process fructose that quickly, it burns through its energy currency, ATP, creating a massive metabolic traffic jam. This immediate stress and disruption of normal energy production leads directly to cellular injury.
Okay, so it's a shock to the system. What's the second point of convergence?
Second, both metabolic processes generate massive amounts of uric acid as a byproduct. Now, most people associate uric acid with gout, but high concentrations of it inside the liver contribute significantly to local inflammation, oxidative stress, and critically, they mess with nitric oxide signaling, which is vital for healthy blood vessels inside the liver.
And the third, this sounds like it gets progressively worse.
It does. And third, and perhaps most dangerously, both directly induce highly inflammatory responses. They don't just passively lead to fat accumulation, they actively irritate, damage, and provoke the liver cells into an inflammatory state.
So it's not just passive storage anymore. It's an active chemical and inflammatory injury, all driven by the way the liver has to process this concentrated fructose load.
Absolutely. And if we connect this back to our first section on insulin, both compounds fructose and alcohol fire, up de novo lipogenesis, that fat-making pathway. So you have a substance that is simultaneously causing inflammation, stressing the cell's energy system, and turning the liver into a fat-producing and fat-storing organ.
Wow. The synergy of those effects is, well, it's why this is surging, isn't it? Especially with all the liquid sweets people consume.
That's the primary driver.
Okay, I have a question here because this comes up all the time when fructose is discussed. If it's so toxic, what about the fructose in whole fruit? In apples and berries. How does that compare to the fructose from a soda? Should we just cut out all fruit?
That is an excellent and very nuanced question. The source material addresses this by looking at the delivery matrix. The toxicity comes down to the rate and the concentration of the fructose hitting the liver.
Okay, the speed and the amount.
Exactly. When you eat a whole piece of fruit, it's packed with fiber. And that fiber acts like a critical speed bump. It dramatically slows down the digestion and absorption of the sugar, preventing that sudden, overwhelming flood of fructose to the liver.
Whereas a soda or processed juice delivers this massive, concentrated liquid shot of pure fructose straight to the liver's doorstep almost instantly.
Exactly. The source material is very clear. Eliminate the liquid and highly processed fructose sources. Sodas, juices, candies, processed desserts, they deliver the toxic load rapidly and in high concentration, perfectly triggering that sober drunkenness response.
So cutting out high fructose corn syrup is way more important than worrying about a handful of blueberries.
Far more impactful. That clarity is vital for a practical blueprint.
It is. But the good news here, even when facing this huge toxic load, is the liver's just incredible ability to regenerate itself.
This is the hopeful twist we have to emphasize. The liver is perhaps the most regenerative organ in the human body. The sources clearly indicate that just by reducing that toxic load, especially reducing fructose intake, you can start to see reversal of damage in as little as 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months, that's a profound turnaround time.
It is. It means that while the problem is very serious, the biological solution is immediate and it's within your daily control.
And understanding that reversal window is so crucial because even though the liver can heal, the disease doesn't just sit still. It progresses along a predictable and ultimately catastrophic timeline. If it goes too far, you hit a point of no return.
That's right. The medical community often calls this the multiple hit progression. It's basically a read map that details how a simple, reversible buildup of fat can turn into a serious, life-threatening condition. We should probably walk through these stages so you can understand the gravity and the urgency of taking action.
Absolutely. Let's start with stage 1, the first hit. This is hepatic steatosis, or just simple fatty liver.
This is the initial insult. It's driven by that chronic insulin resistance and the DNL pathway we just covered. The liver cells become filled with excessive fat, which literally turns the organ pale and enlarged. At this stage, it's often asymptomatic. It's usually found by accident during some other medical test. But crucially, the sources emphasize that at this point, the liver tissue itself isn't severely inflamed or damaged. It's just choked with fat.
And this is the stage that's considered fully reversible with lifestyle changes.
Fully reversible.
Then we get to stage 2. This is where things go from just storing fat to active disease. The second hit leading to non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, or NASH. That word hepatitis means inflammation, right? The liver is now actively sick.
Absolutely. NASH is the inflection point. This is where the disease moves beyond benign fat storage into actual inflammation and cellular destruction. This second hit is triggered by a couple of interacting forces, but the two main culprits the sources point to are chronic oxidative stress and an influx of toxins from the gut.
Let's elaborate on oxidative stress. Is that the internal chemical damage, the cellular rusting you mentioned earlier?
Precisely. Remember how we talked about the mitochondrial overload from processing fructose too fast? That traffic jam generates a massive amount of reactive oxygen species, or free radicals. These radicals directly attack the liver cell components, causing chemical damage and eventually cell death.
And what about the gut toxins?
Well, you add to that the toxins that can leak from a compromised gut lining, which are then carried directly to the liver through the portal vein. So the liver is now under this constant chemical and bacterial assault. These hits cause widespread inflammation. The liver is visibly stressed, damaged, and struggling.
So the severity has just ramped up dramatically. And this inflammation and cell death, it leads directly to the body trying to repair itself, which ironically leads us to stage 3, the advanced stage, scarring, fibrosis, and eventually cirrhosis.
This is the grim end-stage disease that we absolutely have to avoid. The continuous inflammation and death of liver cells triggers a massive non-stop repair mechanism. The body tries to patch up the damaged areas by laying down dense, non-functional scar tissue. That's fibrosis.
And as that scarring gets worse,
As it becomes extensive, it restricts blood flow and it fundamentally warps the architecture of the liver, which leads to cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is defined by hard, nodular, non-functional liver tissue that just can't do its job anymore. At this point, the damage is often irreversible, leading to severe liver failure or the need for a transplant.
that progression maps out a very clear timeline of escalating risk. It shows the incredible difference between just carrying a bit of extra fat, steatosis, and moving into that irreversible scarring of cirrhosis. This is a disease driven by diet and lifestyle that can absolutely kill you.
It is a major cause of mortality and often a silent one. However, the message of hope remains paramount. The critical insight here is the liver's unmatched ability to regenerate. We need to really internalize that your body has a powerful defense system ready to go. If you just eliminate the continuous insults, stop the fructose toxicity, control the insulin, manage the inflammation, the liver has a profound capacity to heal itself.
So the critical window for anyone listening is to make those changes now. While the disease is still mostly in stage 1 or maybe early stage 2, that gives the liver the chance to heal completely within that 3 to 6 month window we talked about. It means we don't need a medical miracle. We need a strategic, integrated lifestyle plan.
Exactly. We need the blueprint. So let's get into the reversal toolkit now.
Okay, so the sources lay out a very clear roadmap for recovery, a powerful 3-pronged lifestyle strategy. It focuses on 3 non-negotiables: controlling insulin, optimizing nutrition, and managing stress. Let's dive deep into the specific tools for each prong, starting where the disease starts: insulin control.
Right. Prong 1 is controlling insulin levels, because if you don't turn off that DNL switch, you will fail to reverse the condition. Simple as that. This prong is addressed mainly through 2 mechanisms: time-restricted eating and movement.
Let's start with intermittent fasting, or IF, time-restricted eating. How does that directly and mechanically fix a fatty liver?
IF is profoundly effective because it gives your body prolonged periods, usually 12 to 16 hours, where you're not taking in any energy, which means the pancreas isn't forced to release insulin. By keeping insulin low, you do 2 critical things. First, you turn off the DNL pathway, the fat-making factory is closed. Second, you shift your metabolic state from fat storage into fat burning, forcing the liver to start using its own stored fat for fuel.
So it forces the liver to start emptying out its reserves. But the blueprint mentions another powerful benefit of IF that we should dive into: the activation of autophagy.
This is the cellular cleanup. Autophagy literally means cellular self-eating. When you fast and your insulin levels are consistently low, your body kicks off this process, which is essentially the cell's internal recycling program. In the context of the liver, autophagy allows the liver cells, the hepatocytes, to literally digest and remove damaged parts, misfolded proteins, and, most importantly, those accumulated toxic fat droplets that were choking the cell.
So it's not just passively waiting for the fat to be used as fuel, it's an active demolition and cleanup crew. It's an active part of the reversal.
Precisely. It actively clears out the internal junk, making room for the cell to function properly again.
Okay, now for the second tool in prong 1, exercise, which the blueprint calls essential medicine. If the goal is insulin control, why is it so important to do both aerobic and resistance training instead of just focusing on, say, cardio?
The sources are very clear that a mixed training approach is superior. Aerobic exercise, like a brisk walk or cycling, is fantastic for acute glucose disposal. It helps suck sugar out of your bloodstream right away. However, resistance training, lifting weights, using bands, is crucial for sustained long-term reversal because it builds and maintains muscle mass.
And why is muscle mass the key component here?
Muscle tissue is metabolically active. It acts as the largest functional sink or storage tank for glucose in your entire body. When you increase your muscle mass, you fundamentally improve your whole body insulin sensitivity. You create more places for glucose to go before your pancreas has to pump out a ton of insulin, which in turn reduces that chronic insulin signal bombarding the liver.
So it attacks the root problem of insulin resistance head on.
It's absolutely essential.
So if exercise is so effective, what's the minimum effective dose we should be aiming for to see a real measurable reduction in liver fat, according to the sources?
The robust recommendation is 150 plus minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise weekly. The key is consistency. Research shows that combining IF with this level of mixed exercise dramatically improves insulin sensitivity and reduces liver fat far more quickly than either diet or exercise can do on its own.
Excellent. Now for prong 2, optimizing nutrition and reducing inflammation. This is where we look at what we need to actively put into our body to help the liver physically clear the fat and protect itself from that second hit damage.
This prong is all about smart supplementation and targeted whole foods. We need to introduce 3 essential micronutrients the liver needs for repair while simultaneously getting rid of inflammatory inputs.
Let's revisit choline, which we called the fat transporter. We said it helps move fat out, but can we go deeper into why a deficiency is so damaging? What's the mechanism?
Sure. Choline is an essential nutrient. It's the necessary building block for creating something called VLDL, which stands for very low density lipoprotein. VLDL is the literal vehicle or carrier molecule that the liver uses to package up triglycerides, the fat it made via DNL, and transport them out of the liver into the bloodstream.
So if I'm deficient in choline, the liver might want to clear the fat, but it doesn't have the little transport trucks to physically ship it out. The fat gets trapped.
Precisely. If you are choline deficient, the liver tries to package and export the fat, but the process fails, and the fat stays trapped inside the liver cells, making the fatty liver worse. That's why the blueprint recommends prioritizing choline-rich foods like eggs, especially the yolk and liver. They directly help export the fat.
That VLDL vehicle analogy is extremely helpful. Okay, next up, vitamin E. The sources highlight this as the proven healer and mention specific clinical evidence.
Right. Vitamin E is a powerful, fat-soluble antioxidant, but its importance here is because of its targeted clinical effectiveness against inflammation. High-dose supplementation of vitamin E has been rigorously studied in randomized controlled trials like the famous PIVEN-S trial, which focused specifically on patients with advanced fatty liver, NASH, the inflamed stage.
And what did that research find that makes it a proven healer?
The key finding was that high-dose supplementation significantly improved liver histology, that's the actual tissue structure under a microscope, in many patients with NASH. It showed reduced inflammation and less ballooning of the liver cells. This tells us it plays a powerful role in neutralizing the oxidative stress that defines that second hit. So for you, it means vitamin E isn't just a generic health boost, it's a targeted therapeutic aid against the progression to NASH.
That's a crucial distinction. It's evidence-based nutrition. And finally, glutathione, the master antioxidant. Why is it the master defender for the liver?
Glutathione is arguably the body's most important defense against chemical damage. Its function is to neutralize that damaging oxidative stress directly inside the core liver cells. Your liver is the body's detoxification center, so it's constantly exposed to pollutants, metabolic junk, and as we've established, all those free radicals generated by fructose toxicity.
It's fighting a chemical war 24/7.
Exactly. Glutathione is a small molecule that contains sulfur groups. These sulfur groups can directly bind to and neutralize free radicals and toxic compounds, converting them into harmless forms that you can excrete. When your liver is constantly dealing with toxicity, glutathione is the primary defense that prevents the damage from progressing into cell death and inflammation.
So to summarize prong 2, choline exports the fat, vitamin E calms the inflammation, and glutathione protects the cells from the chemical damage. That's a powerful synergistic trio for healing.
And just to circle back quickly, we have to reiterate the warning about omega-6 seed oils.
Yes, while we focus on what to add, we have to be just as focused on what to subtract. Limiting inflammatory omega-6 oils, which are in so many vegetable and seed oils used in processed foods, is essential. They are highly prone to oxidation, and they contribute to the systemic inflammation that pushes simple fatty liver into the dangerous inflamed NASH stage.
Stop feeding the fire.
Stop feeding the fire.
And as a final protective habit for this prong, what about the simple power of black coffee? Why specifically 2 to 3 cups a day? The sources show that regular black coffee consumption is consistently correlated with improved liver enzyme function and a reduced risk of fibrosis. Coffee has hundreds of biologically active compounds, including powerful antioxidants. The data is just really strong. These compounds help suppress the harmful formation of scar tissue and support the liver's detox pathways. It's a simple, evidence-based habit to add to the blueprint.
Okay, we have meticulously covered insulin control, exercise, and targeted nutrition. But now we have to turn to the unseen, yet powerfully metabolic third prong, stress management. This often gets, lumped into general wellness advice, but the source material presents a clear, unavoidable biological link between chronic stress and the core driver of liver disease.
This is perhaps the most critical piece for the person listening who is diligently cleaning up their diet but still struggling to see results. Managing chronic stress is not a soft wellness tactic. It is a vital biological component of reversing fatty liver, and the link is the stress hormone, cortisol.
But if the stress is psychological, A deadline at work, financial anxiety. Why does my body treat it like a physical emergency, forcing my liver to create sugar? I mean, isn't that an outdated evolutionary response that we need to actively manage?
That is precisely the core of the problem, the evolutionary mismatch. Our stress response system evolved to handle acute physical threats. A predator, a famine, a sudden need to sprint for your life. In those situations, your body needs a quick, massive burst of energy.
But our modern lives are different.
Our modern lives involve chronic, psychological, non-physical threats that never really resolve. The mortgage, the boss, the 24-hour news cycle, our body hasn't updated its software, so we live in a constant state of low-grade emergency.
Okay, let's walk through this outdated yet powerful stress cascade step by step to see exactly how a psychological threat turns into liver fat. Where does it all begin?
It begins with step 1, perception. Your brain registers that chronic threat, the psychological stress. This kicks off a signal cascade from your hypothalamus to your pituitary gland.
Which quickly triggers step 2.
Release. Correct. The signal goes straight to your adrenal glands, triggering a massive release of cortisol. Cortisol floods your system to maintain that fight or flight state. Your body believes it needs quick, available fuel to survive this perceived emergency.
And that energy mobilization is where the liver gets dragged in, leading to step 3, sugar production in the liver itself.
This is the direct metabolic sabotage. Cortisol acts directly on the liver, stimulating a process called gluconeogenesis. This is a key term. It means the creation of new glucose, new sugar, from non-carbohydrate sources like amino acids. Your liver actively makes and dumps massive amounts of this new glucose into your bloodstream for that perceived emergency.
So wait, even if I was fasting or eating a strict low-carb diet for hours, if I have a massive stress spike, my liver starts manufacturing, dumping glucose into my blood, completely independent of what I just ate.
Absolutely. The stress signal overrides your dietary control. Your blood sugar goes up dramatically and persistently. And this high blood sugar triggers step 4, insulin spike. Your pancreas sees this sudden sugar load, it doesn't care if it came from a donut or from cortisol, and it releases a massive amount of insulin to deal with it.
And as we established right at the beginning, persistently high insulin is the #1 driver of fat storage in the liver via DNL. The cortisol-induced insulin surge tells the liver, store that new sugar as fat.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is. So chronic stress, through cortisol, forces my liver to make sugar, which then creates an insulin spike, essentially triggering the core fat storage mechanism of this disease, even while I think I'm meticulously controlling my diet.
It is the ultimate hidden saboteur in the reversal blueprint. And this process leads directly to step 5, delayed recovery. If you are constantly releasing cortisol, forcing your liver to make glucose, triggering DNL, and storing fat, your ability to regenerate is severely limited. Chronic stress actively hinders your liver's ability to clean itself up and heal, even when you follow the nutrition plan perfectly.
The practical takeaway here is just profound. It elevates stress management from a secondary thought to an essential biological therapy.
Yeah.
If you're struggling to move the needle on your liver health, you have to look at your mental environment just as closely as you look at your plate.
You have to integrate the strategy. Managing stress through active practices, whether that's meditation, structured deep breathing, dedicated breaks, whatever works for you, it's not just about feeling better. It is a critical biological component of reducing your insulin load and reversing fatty liver disease.
We have covered a vast amount of ground today, translating a really complex medical blueprint into a clear, actionable plan for your life. Before we wrap up, let's just briefly synthesize the 3 most important facts we've covered for you.
Okay. First, we established the dual threat. Insulin resistance is the driver of fat storage, but fructose is the sober alcohol that causes specific, highly toxic inflammatory damage. Both of them trigger that DNL pathway, manufacturing fat in your liver. So remember to eliminate processed, liquid fructose and control the persistence of your insulin signal.
Second, and this is so important, the message of hope. The liver is incredibly regenerative. The sources give us clear evidence that recovery is possible in as little as 3 to 6 months if you make consistent lifestyle changes before that permanent scarring of cirrhosis sets in. That window for full recovery is open right now.
And third, the solution relies on those 3 powerful integrated pillars. Controlling insulin through intermittent fasting and mixed exercise, optimizing nutrition with fat-exporting nutrients like choline, and protective ones like vitamin E and glutathione, and critically, managing the hidden metabolic sabotage caused by cortisol and chronic stress. All 3 have to be addressed together for the maximum effect.
So what does this deep dive ultimately mean for you right now? We've learned that the seemingly simple, subtle choices you make every single day, what you choose to drink, how often you eat, how you respond to a stressful email, have direct, measurable biological consequences for your most vital organs.
It's true. If simple, consistent lifestyle choices, like opting for black coffee instead of a sweetened drink, or taking 5 minutes to actively manage your stress and reset your hormones, have the power to reverse what's become a global chronic disease epidemic, it really makes you think. We encourage you to explore what other parts of your daily routine could be secretly harming or healing you right now.
The road to liver reversal and long-term metabolic health is built not on complicated medications, but on small, consistent decisions. It just proves that the most powerful medicine often lies within your daily habits.
Empower yourself with that knowledge.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope you feel informed and deeply empowered. We'll see you next time.